conversations. Let's have real conversations.
Get ready to stir it up.
Life events and everything in between. Let's go.
Get ready to stir it up.
No capping. If guests got you covered right up.
Get ready to stir it up. Stir it up.
Come on.
Get ready to stir it up.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Stir It Up. Today my guest is Sharon Mills. Thank you for being here.
Hi, you're welcome. Anytime.
Anytime. So I wasn't dragging you here kicking and screaming.
Not really.
Not really.
Yeah.
Not really.
Not entirely.
Not entirely. Today we're talking about not fitting in. It's one of those conversations that could take us anywhere and everywhere.
True.
And so we'll see where the conversation goes.
Sure. Cool.
The context for us has been just around who you are and the generations that you bridge across.
Right.
And where you fit in that, and you creating your own space within that.
Right.
So first question, I just looking at you and just the interactions, I would say you're an old soul.
Right.
Thoughts?
Yeah, I guess I could see why you'll say that. Probably would agree with that too. I mean, I do have a very broad community, and I do fit in my age mates, as well as people who are 10 years older than I am. So I think also I started working pretty early, right after senior high school, before university. So a lot of my adult relationships came out of that. And so I ended up being around people who were at least 5 years older than me, at most 15 years older than me. So there's that broad gap of people, and possibly that has influenced what I know, the pace at which I've had to learn, how much more I've had to know at my age compared to the average person my age. So I can understand that.
That you're an old soul.
I can.
OG.
I actually have someone has called me an OG before. I was offended. I was like, an OG from where? But
it's kind of a compliment. It's not like an old man. It's like, you've been around.
I guess. Because there are some speaking engagements that I do, where work is concerned. And I remember there's this one I did last year, and I was on the call, and it was a Twitter space, and I was with someone else who was in the industry around the same time I got in. So I realized that the two of us were supposed to be the elderly people, and then the other two speakers were the younger people. So I was thinking it. I was like, is that why they added me? Am I like the old person? And then the person on the call is like, anyway, so I want our OG to speak first. I was like, who's the OG? So I guess it depends on who's asking. It depends on the environment I'm in. There are spaces I get in and I feel very small, very young. I do not talk. I'm often the youngest person in the room where the industry is concerned, where leadership is concerned. I'm a leader, but I'm usually the youngest leader in the room. Among my friends, we're age mates, Am I the most reliably informed person there? Maybe. But I also don't like to be the smart aleck, So unless you've asked me a question, I'm not going to force information or knowledge on you. And maybe that is my little way of not coming off as too imposing on people who I know may not have as much exposure as I do.
So is that you minimizing yourself within that context?
No, I wouldn't say minimizing, because then how do I explain when I'm among the old guys too and I don't talk? I don't think I'll call it minimizing. I'll say managing, because I don't want to be the person who always knows. Nobody likes the person who always knows everything. But at the same time too, I feel like when I'm among my peers or people younger, I have the opportunity to just relax. When I'm around people older, I don't have to make them regret inviting me into the conversation.
It's like, this child shouldn't be here.
Exactly. So I try to manage the situation. But is it weird? Only when I think about it.
Yeah. And that's fair, because if you're not thinking about it or putting a focus on it, then it's been part of you for a very long time.
Yes. There's often times where I don't think about it till someone says, were you the youngest person there? And I'm like, I guess I was.
Got it. Do these different parts of your life and these different generations that you straddle in so many ways ever do their paths cross?
Cross.
And do you, or are you a convener of sorts at any point in time where you are bringing them together? Whether, you know.
I think I'm somebody who likes small groups. I am an intimate person. I prefer a one-on-one conversation than a conversation with 30 people. So I haven't made an effort to bring everybody together. It's happened once before. My friends came together and did like a 30th birthday surprise for me. That's the first time I'd had all of them in one place. You know, it didn't feel weird. It was nice to know you would all get along for my sake. But also I feel like I'm friends with a lot of cool people. So even when they are not in my generation, they don't seem to, you know, not want to be around. And it's not too far away, you know. It's like I have friends from Gen X, but they are the edge of Gen X. So they are not so far from being millennials themselves, but they are not millennials. So, you know, and then also I know younger people who are not really, they are the edge of millennials. So they are not really Gen X, though they could decide to be the next day, you know. So I feel like I haven't had to bring everybody, and I'm not the person who likes big groups anyway. So I don't make the extra effort to do that. And I haven't seen a crisis from that either, right? But I don't make the extra effort to mix everybody up, or, you know, I have friends who are work friends. I have friends who are, or people who I have a work relationship with, or people who are my friends who may be different age groups. But because of my style of more intimate gatherings, intimate conversations, it never really becomes a case of...
So it's a thing of compartmentalizing and being able to categorize people, isn't it?
Possibly.
Yeah.
So, you know, for me, I'm learning this concept of relational intelligence, and it's... Darius Daniels has a book called Relational Intelligence, and he was talking about how there are 4 categories of relationships that you have. And they are friends, associates, assignments, and advisors. And learning to put who has to be in which place well, managing them well, is what relational intelligence is. And so I'm
probably knowing your place.
Exactly, and putting people in their place, you know, and not in a negative way, you know, just a way that benefits both of you. Because there's something he always says about boundaries, which I've really grown to appreciate, that people assume boundaries are supposed to protect you from something, but what they're actually doing is protecting that thing for you. Right? So me setting a boundary with you is me protecting our relationship, and not necessarily me protecting us from it. Because it means that if I set this boundary, I'm able to love you without any issues, right? And that's what this relational intelligence is about. So I think for me, what happens is I'm learning that, okay, these people are friends, or these people are associates, these people. So I look more at that level of categorization than generational, you know, because like I said, I'm friends with a lot of cool, they're very cool people. So they don't, it's not staring at us that, you know, you are until
you're young, or,
exactly, until we have a certain conversation, and it's like, oh yeah, when I was in school, it wasn't like that. Oh right, no, you came to school when I was leaving. Okay, so I have like, there's a handful of friends, very close, but when they graduated from uni was the year I was going into uni, right? But then I met them at work. So at work we became equals, and because we became equals then, we live life almost believing we're equals until there's some conversation.
There's something that triggers
exactly
the gap that exists, right? Or the generational difference.
Exactly. I mean, but on the bright side, sometimes it's fun for me because you get stories that were not from your era, right? And then, you know, you kind of almost become more seasoned because of it. Yeah, so that's fun.
Do you think who you are could be unsettling for people? Well, and unsettling could be in a positive sense, right? It could be almost like, oh wow, right? Or intriguing, right? And it could be also a little bit, you know, not so comfortable, right? Do you think there are reactions to you that could be unsettling or be very extreme? And how do you respond to those?
I think, sometimes, like, there are spaces I'm in and everyone assumes I'm one of them until something comes up. It's like, wait, what? You finished school when? I was already working when you finished school, or something like that. I'm not sure what that means at that point. Are you happy or wondering why you let the kid in the door? You know, I'm not too sure what the feeling is in that moment. But I guess I don't pay it enough mind to be concerned, unless, of course, I realize it's keeping me from something I'm looking for, or not getting me some respect I was hoping to get, you know. I haven't had many of those experiences to say, okay, this is how I deal with it when I'm faced with it. I'm typically, if it's work, I'm there because I'm qualified. And I have to often remind myself about that. So if there's a sage at the table.
You belong here.
Exactly. If there's a sage at the table who doesn't want to hear my opinion, it's not, I don't look at it as because I'm a small girl. Certainly it's because you have a problem. I'm sitting here with 17 years experience in the business. I know what I'm saying. So I'm like, I'm not really a fraud here. So what's the issue? It couldn't be because of my age, or it shouldn't be. So I kind of talk myself through some of them. Then there's some of them which are less serious, more social, Oh, I thought you knew because in our year group we did this. I'm like, no, I'm not from your year group. Really, you're not? So what? And then it's funny. So I'm an Accra, and Achimonta was going to be 90 years old some years ago. And then a bunch of us were invited onto the committee. And it was the funniest thing because everyone was meant to introduce themselves, your name and your year group. So then they started, this person said 73, somebody said 86, 83, and then they got to my turn and I said 2005. And then everybody was like, oh, and it was a bit funny. But for me, I'm sitting in this room with my proper seniors.
Yeah.
And they know I'm there because the president of the association thought I'm someone who should be there, right? Then the next
you add value to the conversation.
Exactly. And my thing is that when you are put at a table like that, you need to rise to the occasion. You are not about to now be the kid in the room, right? So I did everything I had to do to prove why I should have been there. At the same time, we're in this same community, and then the last person to introduce themselves adds her name and says, year group 2012. And then I was like, thank God I'm not the youngest person here. But the thing is that for both of us, we did everything we were asked to do. We added value. Today, those people are friends now. I have them on my phone. They call me. I see them in town. Elderly people who are happy to see you. Long time no see. We could literally have conversations and laugh. They have respect for you. So I feel like maybe one thing I've also learned from, navigating these different generations is also being what you should be, no matter how old you are, right? If I'm invited here to help on this committee, that's what I'm supposed to do. Whether I'm 2 years old or 22 years old, I'm supposed to do that. I try not to make age the problem or a problem. There's this new concept of generational intelligence that is also being talked about. And it looks like there's a new concept every day. But anyway, they're talking about having a sense of understanding of context for every generation and learning how to use the strong parts of each generation to your benefit, and then also looking at those weaknesses as opportunities for understanding, opportunities for growth. And so for me, I listened to a podcast and all, and I was like, interesting. I can understand, and the premise of all of that is this is the first time in 100 years that there's this many different generations in the workplace at the same time.
I can see that.
So you have the boomers, you have the Gen X's, then you have the Gen Y's, then you have the Gen Z's, and then you have Gen Alphas. So you have that whole broad, and everyone is in the workplace at the same time, and it's not usual. That's why there's so much button of heads. But that concept of generational intelligence is saying that there's a way in which every generation can understand the next. Make allowance for how they think because of where they are from, or when they are from, literally, but and using that to the benefit of productivity and of development and growth, and then using the not so great parts, which are really only not so great for you, not
because
for them.
They could be great for them.
Exactly.
It's almost like how today you hire people and they would quit their job at the drop of a hat,
right? And
for a millennial or Gen Xer, you'll be thinking about your family and stability, and you must have a job. There was a sequence. You go to school, you do well, you excel, you get married, and then you have children and you get a job. You get a job first,
right?
But and you need to stick to that, right?
Exactly.
And now it's out of the window, and I don't need to keep a job.
Yeah.
I can hustle, and I can be
right.
an entrepreneur, and I can work when I want to.
Yeah.
And they're thinking about their well-being and flexibility, and it's not good. Everybody else looks at them and thinks, ooh, you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
But in actual fact, that's good for them.
Exactly. They are learning along the way.
Yes.
A lot of things you wouldn't jump out of the car to do, they've done.
Yes.
So they are actually having a richer experience of life.
That's true.
They are getting a sense of freedom before they are captured, which makes sense. you know,
Captured by?
I mean, captured by, let's just call it life, but captured by the allure of a salary, right? There are generations that live for the salary.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a shackle on its own. It's a kind of shackle, right?
It is a shackle.
And so if there's a generation that feels like, let me not get high, let me not go get high on it just yet,
Yeah.
and wants to explore the world, why not?
No.
Is it a risky thing to do? Maybe.
Yeah.
But for your generation, it's risky. Maybe for theirs, that's how we're supposed to live. You know, and I feel like the truth is, and I know it hurts, especially like boomers, to hear things like this, but every generation is a reflection on the former generation.
You're kind of battling and fighting and resisting the things you didn't like in the previous generation.
Exactly. And so we are a result of what you did, you know. And does that mean that we should be radical? Not necessarily, but it's unlikely that you are going to like the way I go about things. You know, I think in our part of the world, though, there's a cultural inclination to do what they're asking you to do. And so the kicking and screaming is coming from that cultural side. But if you move those curtains away, you begin to realize that, look, maybe this Gen Z person has something to teach me, right? I could learn something from them. At the same time, there's these positive things that we can learn. And is there everything we like about them or the other generation? Maybe not. But maybe the things you don't like are some of the things that could actually help you.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's
like the burnouts that we're experiencing today. Right?
You know.
It's like the chickens have come home to roost. And we are living our lives in constant motion and action. And the things that were meaningful to our parents' generation, we don't do. We don't visit people.
Right.
We don't spend time on a Sunday afternoon going to have lunch with someone in their home anymore. Right. They're people we claim to love dearly, but we have no intimacy with them. Our intimacy is social media. Right? So, but then today you have a younger generation that's willing to begin to prioritize some of those things. And their well-being and their happiness, right? So maybe that's the lesson, right? Sometimes it's okay to let go.
Exactly. I feel like that's everywhere I have thrived. I have been allowed by the person in charge to thrive.
Got it.
So, for instance, the first ad agency I worked at, definitely the youngest person there. I had not been to university. Everyone there at least was a university graduate. But did that change the kind of brief that comes on my desk? No. Did that change the kind of projects or brands I was allowed to work on? No. Did they excuse me when we were working late because I was a kid who had to go home early? No. You know.
Did you not have a curfew?
No, I did not. There was no point having a curfew because if your boss has you at work past the curfew, I mean, really, what are you going to say at home? You know. So yeah, there may be jokes here and there, but there was allowance to be. And so it didn't give me the chance to realize that, being this young or this age difference makes a difference in this work environment. And so possibly it made me unconscious to it from the beginning. But as you grow, as I have grown and evolved and even gone into leadership, I realized that I'm in a company and I'm poaching designers and they are my classmates. So then they come and this person has a bit of an attitude and you're wondering what's your problem, you know, but then you think, oh, okay, well, I guess it must be weird because I was in class with him, but I'm his manager now, you know. So it's a bit weird.
But that would always be the case, right? You'll always have contemporaries, even if that would, you know, find their way and go up ahead, right?
Yeah.
So maybe it's also a conversation of us understanding that everyone's journey is different.
Different, exactly. And I think maybe that's even the same understanding I had to also have to be okay with it, because it still feels weird sometimes, right? It feels weird when someone who's probably older than you needs
to take instructions from you or guidance from you or support. Yes.
Exactly.
Got it.
You know, so I think for me, maybe that's why the generational intelligence concept was interesting because I'm like, okay, now I understand, or I'm helping myself do better. Because like I'm saying, not fitting in for me doesn't become a problem until I think about it. I don't realize I'm not fitting in. All I know is, okay, I'm in this room. But then someone's like, oh, were you the youngest person? Yes. Oh, okay. And I'm like, yeah, I really was. But then I realized, nobody made me sit at the back or made me speak less because of that, you know.
And I think it comes back to you saying that the generations and the people you engage with are relatively open-minded,
Yes,
right?
yes,
And
yes.
there is no intentional drive to make you feel out of place per se.
Yes, yes.
So if you had to create your own ship,
Right.
or your own world, or your own universe, right, what would it be made up of in terms of what are the things that will give you balance, will help you thrive, will make you comfortable, right? Because, you know, this straddling is not something, I agree with you, it's not something that is always apparent,
Right.
but sometimes it can be uncomfortable,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So what would, if you're creating a world of your own, what would that world look like?
It's still certainly going to be a cross-generational world, that's for sure. But I also feel like, for me personally, memories and experiences play a big part of, you know, the foundation or the backdrop on which I'm going forward with, because it's good to remember where I've been, and, you know. But I told a friend recently that when I think of memories, I literally have them balanced out in both the good and the not so great. They are literally a mixed bag, right? So I would definitely have a treasure chest of mixed memories. And I feel like the bad memories as well as the good all have a role to play in sort of reminding me that I belong, and also reminding me that I don't belong, you know, because the thing is, I've grown to learn that fitting in is the easy thing. And I've learned from people like TD Jakes has this really, you know, interesting thing that he says, that you'll be trying to fit in forever, but you will come to learn that God made you to stand out. And that's why fitting in is probably difficult for you. Maybe the battle for me is I'm not typically the person who likes to stand out, or I don't.
So it's a bit of a conflict with self.
Exactly. You know, I don't really put emphasis on standing out. I may want to be outstanding, but I don't start it saying I want to stand out. I find myself in places and, you know, getting accolades and awards and maybe invited somewhere or something, and I could literally say I never worked towards this. It just happened. I am definitely usually behind the camera telling somebody to smile, trying to guide somebody on what to say.
Take that phone off the couch.
Right? It's like, oh, clean the lens, you know. You know, so I'm not really that person, but I am learning, you know, to embrace destiny, because sometimes no matter how you try, it just comes, because destiny is you collaborating with God, saying that, yes, what you brought me here to do, I agree, I'm doing
gonna
it.
do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because what's the alternative? You are going to fight him, then, well, that's an interesting
Well,
rest
good
of
luck.
your life. Yeah, you know, that's an interesting rest of your life. So yeah, I'll take those memories, the mixed bag of memories. I'm taking my faith with me. I'm building that into everything, because I feel like those things ground me and make it easier to navigate the complexities. And I'm taking sports with me.
Sport.
Yes.
What are we doing? Golf,
two things:
hockey,
basketball,
tennis?
and my bicycle. I'm taking those two with
Ooh.
me. I'm building that because I may never even ride the bicycle, but knowing that it's a possibility to ride it, having it available, is happiness for me. Basketball is my first love. I played basketball from grade 5 till uni. I played varsity basketball. I played inter-university games to that level. So I was a good basketball player, and it's a very nice thing to remember. I'm a basketball fan now. I watch basketball, but it's always good to know I did play. I'm not one
So
of
it's
the,
coming on the ship.
It definitely, it's there. You know, I'm not one of those people who just sits in the stands and screams at Michael Jordan because I don't know what he's doing. I probably cheer even when he's hurting because I've been there. I know what it's like. Obviously not at that level, but I know what it's like to be an athlete. So that's coming. Sports are coming. My JBL speakers are coming. Let's get some music in. I'm packing some stuff and I'm packing my most comfortable clothes in my ship, because if I had my way, the one dress code for the world will be to be comfortable and be cool. that's what I'll ask the world to be, because I feel like we're told so many different things, and there's so many times, especially women, we're literally dolled up, and you're uncomfortable, but they say this is what it will take.
No.
You know, and I'm like, I don't, you know.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes if women would take their time to listen to what some of the men say, you probably hate yourself for all the times you dolled up, because there are people.
So this is just a complete side conversation.
Right.
Do women dress for themselves or do they dress for men?
Women, it depends on who you are asking.
I'm asking Sharon.
I think women should dress for themselves,
Okay.
because at the end of the day, you will be the ultimate determinant of if you are looking. Somebody can tell you every day that you
look
are
good.
beautiful.
And if you don't feel good, yeah.
You know, so that's my opinion.
Got it.
But I know people who always say, and there's concepts around how fashion was built,
Yeah.
that women dress for the pleasure of men. But that's a very interesting discussion to have in 2023.
I will
Yeah.
have that conversation
I
at
think
some
so.
point.
I think so. And then what else is on my ship? I think I'll do. I'm bringing a bit of tech with me. No AI, but I'm bringing.
ChatGPT.
I'm not bringing AI, Charlie. It's creepy for me, but yeah, it's clever. But I'm bringing my iPad because all my reading happens there now. Not because I don't favor paperback, but that the idea of being able to carry my whole library with me is good enough. So I need that. It's good reading. I'm bringing my phone because my Bible is on my phone. Connecting with people I don't have to hang out with is on my phone too. You know. Then I'm going to bring physical people though. The people I'm bringing are. I'll use this test. So there's this psychologist, I forget her name. So she came up with this test, and she said it's a very simple way to understand your relationships and appreciate them, and also fix them or get rid of them. She says that ask yourself one of two questions. Is this person I want to share a drink with, or I can leave my pet with this person? And sometimes you can do both with one person.
And sometimes you can do one, and sometimes you can do none.
Exactly. And I realized that the people that I want to do both with are those people I really want to hold on to. Those I want to draw closer, those who I want to keep. They're coming on the ship with me. Someone asked, what about family? And I'm like, well, if the ship is coming back.
Would you use the same measure with family, pet and...
No.
Got it.
Because very often family will not tick all the boxes. Family is by force. You know, if you love them, good for you. If you don't, they are still your family, you know. So I'll say, if my ship is coming back, I'm not taking family. I come back to them. If my ship is never coming back, I am taking all of them, you know. For me, family is fabric, you know. They are part of everything. So, and then I think the only reason why I say if my ship is coming back, I'm not taking them is because I believe we're all purposed to also go out there and make our family. And I feel like when you are always with your family, it's difficult to build your identity because you find your identity in family. So if I'm coming back, I leave them to go build mine, to create mine, and come back to the one I was given, coming back with the one I've created, and then we mix them up. Yeah, so yeah, I'm doing that. And then what else am I taking? Yeah, I think that kind of world will work. I'm not taking work with me. If I could take bags of money, I will, but I'm not taking work with me. It would be nice to not have to travel with work for once. Like I said, I started working right out of high school. I was not yet 18. I was 17 and a half maybe. And since then, I've been working. So work almost is like a default. So if there's an opportunity to go somewhere without it, I'll do that. First, I'm taking that door first. So I'm not going with work. But yeah, I think I would have all of this, and I will be very content knowing that I have the opportunity to choose those things more than the fact that they are there. You know. Yeah.
It's making your own cake and deciding what that cake tastes like.
Exactly.
Got it.
Exactly. So yeah.
It's been really nice having this conversation.
Thank you.
Final thoughts about straddling or not fitting in?
Not fitting in.
If those two things you would say to people who don't fit in or people who are trying to fit in.
I think fitting in, I have come to learn, is not what it's all about. I think that everyone has to look at their life, the memories I talked about, and look at the culmination of it all and ask yourself, did all these things happen for you to fit in? Because then if you fit in, then those things were a waste, right? I mean, I get it. Someone will say, if we're all trying to stand out, then, you know.
Then we're all standing out.
Exactly. You know, I think where fitting in is concerned, what people will realize is that they will find a bigger headache trying to fit in than standing out, you know. So let's probably embrace the opportunities that come even naturally to not fit in. Accept them, understand them, and let those propel you to standing out. Because you may not be doing it intentionally, but you end up standing out. And I guess it's good to be outstanding.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So now to the fun part,
Okay.
which is I make you a cocktail.
Okay.
I will tell you one thing that's in the cocktail,
Okay.
but you have to do all the guessing.
Okay.
So on to cocktails.
Okay.
So that's your cocktail.
Okay.
You need to guess what's in it.
Okay.
Not the base, but
Not the base. Boy. This is like a nighttime cocktail or a daytime cocktail. This is for day drinking or night drinking.
you need to tell me.
Ooh, okay. Wow. Just vodka in there?
Yes. But that's all I'm telling you. So you can carry on guessing as much as you want.
Ooh.
But thoughts?
I mean, it's good, but it's definitely a nighttime cocktail.
That's fair. So you can keep it and have it tonight.
Okay.
Stir it up.
Cheers.